Hello, this is Michèle at Jasami Publishing with a new episode of Jasami Bookworm Podcast. And I am so happy and delighted to say that we're back at the Britannia Panopticon Music Hall, and I can actually pronounce that now, with the lovely Judith. Happy birthday, Judith.
Thank you, Michèle. Thank you for the coffee and the card and the balloon. Thank you.
We have to pay special homage to you. And I will say that we're recording this actually on the 1st of April. So for the cards and letters and birthday wishes, please feel free to send them to Judith at any point in time.
Yes, please do. Please do. Particularly if you have checks.
Oh, that's even better.
And folding money.
Or coin. We'll just not think about it.
Any kind of cash will be accepted. Yeah.
We also have a special guest, tour guide named Peter, who will be joining us with a few questions. Hello, Peter, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to tell you what I do at the Panopticon.
Excellent. We'll be getting to that in just a moment. So, Judith, let's... Now, the acoustics here are perfect, but they might hear a little bit something going on in the background, which is a beautiful silent movie. Please tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, this is the earliest footage from the Lumieres from 1896. And we've just, Debbie McCall, who is one of our wonderful volunteers, has put a soundtrack to it so as you can hear the clopping of the horses and the sound of the sea or the sound of the crowd as we go through it. And it's a bit of a tour around the world, really, because at the moment we're looking at the Champs-Élysées in Paris, for example, and earlier we were in Venice. So it's a little tour of the world in 1896 via the camera of the Lumiere brothers.
That is fantastic. To be taken back into that point in time, and it's like visiting, a different world, one that's ours. So when does it normally play here, Judith?
We usually play it during the day when we're open to the public for general viewing. But if people are not able to come to Glasgow, you go to our YouTube channel and you will actually find it on the Britannia Panopticon YouTube channel as well. So you can see it there. You don't have to physically come into the building, although I recommend coming physically into the building. Then you get the atmosphere of the silent movie house as well, because of course silent movies were shown here from August of 1896 until we closed in 1938.
It's a sin to think about being closed, but, coming here, you're very true. It's the atmosphere that imbues the entire music hall and the occasional ghostie that makes, visits interesting. Not to scare you off, so please feel free to visit.
They're friendly ghosts.
They're friendly. They're very friendly. So now, Peter, what is it that you actually do here at the Panopticon?
Well, I was interested in looking for a volunteering job somewhere, and I seen an advert for the Panopticon, which I must admit I'd never been in, but I wanted to come in and see it. So I came in, Judith spoke to us, and ever since then I've come in. So that was around about 2015, 2016. Anyway, what I particularly enjoy is when visitors come in, whether they've been in here or not, I regale them with the stories of what used to happen in the Panopticon. Both the acts that performed here, the acts that the audience would perform here, some of which were bizarre in the least. And it's just to get the enthusiasm over to the visitors. And on occasion, when Judith allows, and we're sort of short of people to perform in the shows, I can't sing, I can't dance, but that won't stop me getting on stage to try and regale the audience with old monologues like Albert and the Lion, Ode to a Fart, and things like this. It's just great. It's a great set of people here. There's so many talented people on and off the stage that come in to help the Panopticon. Let people know what it was like in those days. A living museum, I think, of it.
What you do with the storytelling is very important, Peter, because that's before words were generally written. Stories were handed down from generation to generation, and that's what was so valued then. And while the printed word, obviously, as a publisher, we love the printed word, but storytelling is still important, even if it's verbal or written. So do you have a short story you'd like to share?
I probably do. in one corner of the balcony, there was a selection of buttons found. I don't know if Judith's mentioned that story. Anyway, one of the volunteers here does costumes for films and things like that, like Glenn Close, people like that, who have been here to visit the place. And those buttons happen to be fly buttons.
Oh.
And the ladies at one side of the balcony used to go across and entertain the gents in much more imaginative ways.
Oh.
So much so that a Dr. Temple used to leave his card in the balcony, and Dr. Temple specialised in diseases peculiar to men. Not baldness, not dandruff.
We'll leave that to the listening audience's imagination.
Good idea.
So, and they found a little pile of buttons.
Yes.
Ah.
They're on display.
Oh.
Not all of them, of course, but a selection of them. And the gents could easily see that they were the old-fashioned fly buttons.
Well, I'd love to hear more stories, but we'll go back to Judith at the moment because I was here the other night when we celebrated the Glasgow Comedy Festival,
yes,
and they
indeed.
appeared here. It was so wonderful. So tell us a little bit more about that and then other events that you have coming up.
Well, the Glasgow International Comedy Festival is a fantastic festival every year in Glasgow. And of course, Glasgow should have a big comedy festival because really it's the home of comedy. It's where some of the greatest comedians in history of comedy have come from, including, of course, Stan Laurel, who made his debut in this very building. And one of the things we have is a Laurel and Hardy film night as a result.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's not just comedy clubs. We do have a comedy club, which is always the middle Friday of the month. People can find out what shows we've got coming up by going onto the website or our Facebook page, etc. But comedy is a very important part of a music hall anyway, because although we call them music halls, they weren't really about music. They weren't about opera. They weren't about orchestras. They were actually about comedy singers, comedy songs. Stand-up is an invention of the 20th century. So originally comedians would be comedy characters and sing comedy songs with patter verses. And that's how comedy began, and that's what a music hall is all about, really, is comedy songs. Henry VIII, I am, old, any old iron, boiled beef and carrots. All of these songs that a lot of people still remember today are comedy songs sang by the comedians. Stan, when he began his career, he did tell a joke.
Ah.
He told the worst joke you've ever heard.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, please, please.
Ian can edit it out if it's so bad. If it's too bad, Ian will edit it out.
We'll just give it a proper rating, not a problem.
Well, Stan was from Ulverston in the Lake District. His dad ran the music hall around the corner called the Scotia or Metropole Music Hall. Didn't want Stan to go on the stage. So he lied to his dad about having a night off of work. And he snuck round here. And he told this joke, which went, I say, did you hear the one about the two butterflies? One butterfly said to t'other butterfly, I am bothered. Why is that then, said the other butterfly? Because I couldn't go to the dance last week. You couldn't go to the dance? Why ever not? Because it was a mothball. It's bad.
I like that. Yeah, I like bad jokes, though. I really do. Those are. Well, it's good to know that his comedy went up from there.
It did, yes, fortunately. I mean, the full story probably would take me 20 minutes to tell, but you can read about it in the book, Glasgow's Lost Theatre. There's a full chapter on Stan and how his career began. But because Stan's career began here, we do have people making a pilgrimage to this building on a regular basis to celebrate Stan. That's why the comedy clubs, we get so many amazing comedians for free, because they just want to stand on the stage where Stan began his career. I mean, it's quite a thing to do.
Historical.
Very historical. And of course, to this day, Laurel and Hardy are probably the most famous comedy duo in the world. And we're still making people laugh with them. In fact, we have regular Laurel and Hardy film nights with the Sons of the Desert.
Oh.
I mean, by the time this piece goes out, it will be the first Wednesday in June will be the next one. So I don't know what date that is, but it's the first Wednesday in June anyway. It's the first Wednesday of April, June and August. And I think we've got one maybe in October as well. So we do them alternate nights with the silent film nights. So in between those, the first Wednesday in May, for example, is actually Metropolis.
Oh my
With
gosh.
the orchestra, with our live band.
Really?
Yeah, and Foley artists doing all the sound effects live.
That film, they've done a documentary about it. I watched it. It's incredible to think of the artistry that was done at that point in time.
It's phenomenal.
I'll definitely have to see that because I haven't seen the whole film yet. But that is, and again, it's the atmosphere of visiting, to know what they say about walking across the boards of those who went before. It's as if you can absorb their creativity and their humor and maybe add it to our own a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, it is an incredible sensation because our stage is actually quite high. But when you get onto the stage, you see the auditorium in such a different way. And to see it from the point of view of those performers like Harry Lauder, like Stan Laurel, like Jack Buchanan, and even, of course, a young Cary Grant, who was a teenager when he performed in here as Archie Leach, as one part of an acrobatic troupe of 3 boys.
Oh, I didn't know he was here.
Oh, he did.
I know he
indeed.
started off in the Acrobats,
Yeah.
but he was still Archie Leach back then.
He was still Archie Leach back then. He was only about 18 or 19 when he performed in here. He was with the Bob Pender troupe, and he had 2 friends. And in the Bob Pender troupe. Now, Bob Pender taught the boys everything. He taught them how to be stage managers, to do set painting. He taught them the whole craft so that they would always find a job. But these 2 boys and Archie would look through all the classifieds, wherever they were in the UK or in the world. They would look up at the classifieds and see which music hall had an amateur night with a cash prize. And it just so happened that they were performing at the Pavilion in Glasgow. They looked through the classifieds and A.E. Pickard had a guinea prize at the Panopticon. So they thought, we'll go and see if we can win it. And of course they did.
Yeah, they would.
So we had Archie Leach, a 19-year-old boy, performing on the stage in a pair of white tights and nothing else.
Oh, I really would have liked to have seen that. Just because I am extremely shallow. That would have been beautiful.
Me too. And let's face it, Cary Grant was perhaps one of the most beautiful men to ever grace the silver screen.
Absolutely.
I mean, gorgeous, but don't tell my husband I said that.
No, we'll keep that just a secret between us.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the comedy festival, it's good that you have other nights, and you also have the film. Now, at Christmas, I thoroughly enjoyed the pantomime. Will there be other live stage?
Yeah, we've got the Dragged to the Steamy coming back. The Steamy is a very Scottish play. In fact, it's actually based in Glasgow, written by Tony Roper, with music by Dave Anderson. Both Dave and Tony are patrons of the Friends of Britannia Panopticon, the charity that operates the building. And we've got a drag version of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I need to see that. I
Yeah.
remember
It's
stories
hilarious.
of the Steamy, of my mum, going to the Steamy, and what happened there and the gossip and everything
The
like that.
talk of the Steamy.
Yes.
It's still an expression in Glasgow.
And now now it'll be live, which is even better.
Yeah, it's great. So we got that coming at the beginning of July. It's actually doing a tour of Scotland. So if any of your Scottish listeners look up Dragged to the Steamy on the internet, you should be able to get through to the website and see locally where the Dragged to the Steamy is coming to them, because they are touring the whole of Scotland. They're going up to the Highlands and everything. So, and coming back down again. So travelling all over, down to the borders, up to the Highlands, So, yeah, look out for it coming to you. And we have other live shows as well. We've got a great music show with the Figaro Trio, for example. They're going to be doing a few regular ones this year. And they perform with Lisa LeGrove and Margaret Woods, who are swing singers. So it's swing and jive and that kind of jazz. And they have jive dancers come in and do some performance as well, and it's amazing.
I'm going to have to be booking up my calendar here for all of the visits, because we do like to have regular visits here, Judith. You're one of our most popular when we have a chat and conversation that people really do love and enjoy it, especially when they're learning about, something so historical here, and that you can still have fun.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
enjoy it. And
Absolutely. I mean, our music hall shows that we do, we start them at the end of May, and we do them last Saturday of May at 1:30 and 3:30 in the afternoon. And that's where you get a chance to see Peter doing Albert and the Lion, for example. I'm the juvenile lead. I am. I dress up as a little girl and I sing Daddy Wouldn't Buy Me a Bow Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
I'll probably cry.
No, you won't. It's a bit of a naughty song. It's actually quite a rude song. I mean, that's the whole point about it. When Mary Lloyd, Mary Loftus and all the other girls, when they sang Daddy Wouldn't Buy Me a Bow Wow, they would do a saucy version of it quite often where they would add the innuendo.
Ah, okay.
Because it is a bit naughty. Or you can sing it innocently by taking out the innuendo, you know. But it's a great song, and it's a great one to get the audience to sing along to. Because everybody tends to know Daddy Wouldn't Buy Me a Bow Wow. You know, and they can sing along with the chorus, even though they don't know the verses. And it's great. A lot of people don't even realise that there are verses to Daddy Wouldn't Buy Me a Bow Wow. They just realise, you know, they just know the chorus.
It's the chorus.
But we do sing a lot of the old music hall songs in here for music hall memories and show some of the old acts and the old gags and the old monologues. And some of them are still hilarious today and still relevant. Our title tune for the building is a Harry Lauder classic, To the End of the Road.
Oh.
And the words are still relevant today. Keep right on to the end of the road, keep right on to the end. Though the way be long, let your heart be strong. Keep right on round the bend. Though you're tired and weary, still journey on till you come to your happy abode, when all you love, you've been dreaming of, will be there at the end of the road.
I think they used that at World War II, because I remember my mum talking about that song.
He actually came out with it in 1922.
So after the First World War.
After the First World War. And the idea was to generate funds for the soldiers that had come back from the war and were unable to get employment. So it's to raise funds for them, because of course there was no benefits then particularly, and you know, a lot of them were in the streets, missing limbs, disfigured by the war, and he wanted to help them because he lost his son during World War I. In fact, he got the telegram minutes before he was due on stage. Oh. And he went on stage and he did his act, but that's when he started campaigning for the war effort, for those soldiers abroad, and that's why he's Sir Harry Lauder.
Absolutely. I didn't realize that such a tragedy, but still, as they always say, go on with the show. Exactly. He still gave to others, even with that. And World War I was a tragedy because what they went through wasn't recognized at the time. Exactly. And with the gassings and such, and there had never been, obviously, the World War I, there had never been anything on that scale before.
Or since.
No. World War II was...
Well, World War II, but not quite as dramatically horrendous as World War I.
That's true. There were more tanks, and it was the civilian population that suffered more.
It was.
Well, not to say that the soldiers didn't, but that was completely a different kind of war.
It was. I mean, it was trench warfare, and it was vile, and of course there was gassing. And you know, I mean, my grandfather got mustard gassed, and he survived until he was in his mid-50s, the same age as I am now, purely because his lungs gave in. You know, so they might have survived the war, but their lives were so radically shortened by what they endured. And of course, there was no post-traumatic stress syndrome. But music hall was a very important part of the war. First of all, it was used as a place to recruit. And they had recruiting songs, and ladies, salacious ladies in their tight-waisted gowns would go up on a stage, corseted and somewhat buxom, and encourage the men up, and they would give them a kiss if they took the king's coin and joined the war effort. But then you also had people like Vesta Tilley, who campaigned for the soldiers, for the benefit of the soldiers, and her song, Bit of a Blighty One, was banned because it was anti-war. Blighty One is when soldiers in the trenches, and they couldn't take it. They just had to get out. They just had to get home. They would stick a leg out of a trench or an arm out of the trench and get shot, literally get shot, just as they could get back to Blighty, and it was known as a Blighty One. And her song basically illustrated the horrors of this and why the soldiers were doing it. And it was a comedy song, though. So she used comedy to get the point across. And she would dress up as a man.
Oh.
She would dress up as a soldier and sing this song. and it was banned because it was regarded as anti-war.
And that's the thing. Comedy often relays messages. Even it's like a subliminal message, but it makes you think about things. In comedy, while we want to be able to laugh and laugh at life, and especially the tragedies in life, we remember it, and then those messages do come through. Oh, that's very, very sad. So let's chat about something a little bit more lighthearted. So with the movie that's going on right now,
yes.
How often will that play, Judith?
Well, we generally play it during the day on a regular basis, don't we, darling? We do. We alternate it. We might show a Laurel and Hardy film like Lucky Dog or something like that. But if customers come in and they request it, they can just get it put on for them. You know, we're not strict and rigid. We do allow people to come and say, oh, can I watch a Buster Keaton, or can I watch a Laurel and Hardy, or can we watch the old films? We've got a couple of CDs of early film. This is, I think, one of our favourites, because it's just beautiful. It's so natural just to see people, what they dress like, what they walk like, you know, the animals as well, and the dogs and the cats and the donkeys that you see, you know. I mean, we do keep it on a loop. In fact, we're on a loop at the moment. It's just gone back pretty much to the beginning again. But we also show, there's another DVD of music hall performers.
Oh.
There's quite a disturbing bit in that one as well, isn't there, with the dancing pig?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a real pig. It's a human, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good one. It shows you the films and the early attempts at colouring the negatives so that it looks like a colour film, but it's very good. Snake Dancer, The Dancing Pig, and various others. The audiences do like it.
They do. I mean, the dancing pig's disturbing though, because it's a human in a costume. Yeah. But the pig head is animated. They've put mechanisms in it so the eyes wink, open and close, and the mouth opens and closes. And this film is from about 1900. I think it's 1901, this film. And it is so creepy. But he dances with this dancing girl.
Oh.
You know, and it's very funny. It is very funny. But a lot of people are like, ooh, that's really creepy. That's going to give me nightmares. But at the time,
we'll
it
go
was just
back
funny.
to Laurel and Hardy.
Exactly.
I know. Well, comedy does change throughout the years. The things that we find, and we were having the conversation about how comedy has had to change in the to be accepted in more recent times, and as to whether your own, whatever the private opinion of the audience is, that's it. But comedy is about laughing at life and laughing at the tragedies of life and the difficulties in life. And if we can't laugh at that, then it is a sorry case. Well, as always, in the description, we will have proper links to the YouTube channel and directly to here, and then we'll put it in to become a supporter of the music hall, because like everything else in life, it's not free to keep the doors open.
It's not.
So
we're not subsidized.
No, and that's the tragedy of it, is that it should be, because this is living history. Because I think the building is a living history with what's here.
It is.
You know, and the stories that it tells, and the storytellers that you do, Judith, and that you relate to, Peter, that makes such a difference. And the films that are being shown so that people can see a living history of it.
They can.
So on that happy note about visiting history, I wish to thank you once again. As always, I'm going to put you on the spot, both on the spot. Judith, for your shout out today, who would you like to have a shout out to?
My mum. My 89-year-old mum, for giving birth to me 55 years ago.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the number's a palindrome. I'm nuts for palindromes.
I know, that means I can't turn it the other way and be younger.
No, pretty much that's it. Peter, who would you like to do a shout out to?
I'd like to give a shout out to my grandson, Charlie, who he loves coming into the Panopticon, and he's learning the piano, but he hasn't yet got the guts to stand on the stage and do something. But he will.
Absolutely. With your support, I'm sure that will be so important. I would like to do my shout out to my dear friend Judith, and wishing her a happy birthday, and that 55 more, and that they'll all be enjoyed here, and will just become, a part of part of the history of it.
Oh, thank
Physically.
you, darling. As long as you're here to celebrate them with me.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. So once again, with thanks to all of you for listening, this is Michèle at Dasami Bookworm Podcast, wishing you all a sunny day.